Welcome to another episode of the Black Male Impact. And as always, our goal is to inspire positive change. Today's guest is Mr. Rob YB Youngblood. Mr. Youngblood, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Peace and blessings, Dr. Cross. I thank you for the opportunity to serve as your guest today.
Man, thanks for being here. But before we get into the questions, as I like to let the audience know who we have with us, and I will say Mr. Youngblood is a 2-time author, is a connector and networking expert. But I'm going to pass over to Mr. Youngblood to share more about himself before we get into the conversation.
Yes, so once again, Rob YB Youngblood. I am a native of the Bronx, New York. Grew up in a single-parent home. My father was murdered when I was 2. I often start off my introduction that way, not to gain any sympathy, but to relate to those who may be listening to me speak so that they know that I am a very much real person.
Yes.
Transitioned to Richmond, Virginia in 1996 to go to college at Virginia Union, so proud HBCU alum. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and in many circles, I'm known as the LinkedIn locksmith, and looking forward to adding value to your life today.
Man, thank you. And as we go on this journey to make an impact, to do the work that we are passionate about, connecting with others, it's really important because there's no way we'll be able to do the work that we are called to do by ourselves. So we always need connecting with others, not just even for support, but sometimes even to bounce our ideas off. Because as they said, 2 minds are better than 1. So connecting with the right people is always a great thing. And being that that's something that you specialize in, man, it's important, especially when it comes to Black men and where we want to go from here. We need to connect with others so we can learn from others and become stronger, because we'll be stronger together when we're thinking about moving the needle forward. And that leads to this first question that I have to start off the conversation. What is the mindset that it takes to make a positive impact?
Yeah, I would say the mindset has to be a positive mental attitude. One of the things that I think about is one of my mentors, Dr. George C. Fraser, when he says that you have to be the first one to give. So a part of having that positive mental attitude is to have a giving heart, a giving spirit, because to whom much is given, much is required. But also, when you give, you open up the door for opportunities to come back to you. So having a positive mental attitude along with a giving heart and a giving spirit creates opportunities for us to grow and to prosper.
I really love that perspective. To whom much is given, much is required. And when we're on this journey, I think that is really important. And you said something earlier that is important, where sometimes we have to give first to get what we want. And, if we approach life like that, at times we will connect with the right person, because sometimes an individual may not be aware of who we are. And by reaching out and sharing and giving to that person, we may make a great connection. So, but I really like that perspective. To whom much is given, much is required, because we can't have and don't want to give. So I really appreciate that, especially when we're thinking about making a positive impact. So what advice do you have for the men listening on how they can play a role in creating positive change?
Yeah, I would say for the men, is the most important thing you can do is to acknowledge and deal with your trauma. Many of us have gone through trials and tribulations in our lives that create a stumbling block and prevents us from being authentically us. And so, when I say that, I'm talking about, for example, my situation of growing up without my father, growing up in a single parent home. So that produced a certain level of trauma that at that age and at that time, I didn't even know that that was the word. I just knew that I had that experience. So I think as a man, especially as a Black man, was understanding that trauma is real, dealing with that trauma. And once you deal with that trauma, your perspective begins to change so that you can make an impact on others. Even in my situation, I can relate to a lot more people because I was able to deal with my trauma. So growing up without my father, living in a single parent home, going through the stresses of life as a father, as a husband, just dealing with life in general. Once you can deal and transform your trauma into triumph, then you put yourself in a position to make the greatest impact.
I really like dealing with trauma. As you said, a lot of times we all don't have the best experiences growing up. And sometimes to get past those difficulties, what we have experienced, we have to take the time to heal, to deal with what we have been through so we can be better as we go forward. And as you said, you didn't grow with your dad and you have to heal or deal with those traumas. How did you get through the process of those difficult years, especially later in your life when you didn't have that father figure? How did you make it through? And if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no, I love being able to share this because I know that this is going to unlock some people and get them to another level. I My mom was smart enough, wise enough to put me in environments where other men were. Starting with scouting, I was involved in the Cub Scouts that then grew into Boy Scouts. I was able to go to church where I was influenced by upstanding men. Even at school, my mom transitioned me from public school to a Catholic school where I was able to be influenced by men who poured into me and helped me to release the pain that I felt. And then in my neighborhood, there were always men standing on in front of the building in the stoop, and older men that would pour into me and stand in the gap. So I would say being in the right environment would and being exposed to men who were able to operate at the highest level of integrity allowed for the gap to be filled so that I could grow into a young man and then now into a mature man.
And that's important, as you said, having a parent or someone who can put you in the right environment. Because to become who we are capable of becoming, being around the right people is important. And as you mentioned, having male role models serve a great purpose on your journey so you can learn from others, even though you didn't have a direct male figure, a father figure to help you to understand what it takes to be a man as you grow up as a young man and stuff like that. So, what are your views on mentorship when it comes to young men?
Yeah, mentorship is critical, especially in the Black community. It's the opportunity for ideas and information and insight to be transferred from one generation to the next. It resembles our early culture where the griots would share information to the neophytes and help them to learn. And so, mentorship is a critical component to personal and professional growth. It's something that I subscribe to. I have a ton of mentors, a ton of coaches, and I also mentor and coach other people as well. And so it's an opportunity for us to not only to receive, but then to pass on what we've learned to others. Mentorship is a critical component to becoming successful in every facet of life because, like I said, it fills the gap. It allows for us to not only receive, but we get to live on forever. I have one mentor in particular. His name is James Henry Allen, and Brother Allen's a fraternity brother of mine. He passed on in 2007, but he impacted my life in a major way because he was relentless in giving. He opened up doors for people as a CPA. He influenced me and got me exposed to business and entrepreneurship. As a result of that, it allowed for me to be in the right environment and mindset where I attracted my wife. So had it not been for Brother Allen being relentless about making an impact and opening up doors for me in business, I wouldn't be married to the woman that I'm married to today. So mentorship is critical to success, because that person who is the mentor can pave the way for the protege and helping them to move on to the next level in their lives. And I believe every single person not only should have a mentor, but they should be a mentor as well.
That's a great point and valid point. See ourselves as mentors, but also look to others for wise counsel. I think as we go on this journey, we're going to need the insight and perspective of others. And while we learn from those who are there for us, now it's our responsibility to share what we learn with others. So I appreciate that point that you make. And how can we, as Black men, help to change the narrative today?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to be mindful of the words that we speak out of our mouths, because our words are seeds. Our words come out of our mouths, they go into our ears, then they go into our brains, and then those seeds, those words create thoughts. Those thoughts then create emotions. Those emotions then produce behaviors and attitudes that then affect our actions and our activities. And so, if we want to change the narrative, we have to first start by changing the words that we speak. So, how do we change the words that we speak? Well, first of all, we have to be mindful of what goes into our head, right? So it's the music that we may be listening to, or the books that we read, or the environment that we may be around where people are talking. We have to be mindful. I heard a wise man say, "Garbage in, garbage out." So if we don't put in anything positive, then it's going to be difficult for us to put out something positive. So that's the first way to change the narrative, is to first begin to change the words that we speak. Number two is really to then produce content that is consistent with positive change. Becoming a two-time author has opened up an opportunity for me to go on a mission to empower specifically Black fathers to become authors. Why? Because there's two main ways that you can leave a legacy. There's many ways, but the two ways is, number one, make sure you have some form of life insurance that allows for your financial legacy to be secured. But then the second way is to write a book, because in writing a book, your mental impact will be passed on. Your ideas. One of the things that I respect about you, Brother Cross, is the fact that you are a multi-time author, right? To see that you've written these books that shares your ideas and your perspective. When you're moved on from this earth, you get to live on through your books that you've written. And so we want to change the narrative. We first need to start by changing the words that we speak, but then making sure we put out our ideas in the form of books, so that the next generation and the generation beyond them are able to see that we lived, and that impact and that narrative can change from that perspective.
As you mentioned that, I do believe that what we listen to, what we put into our minds really impact us, because that was what changed my perspective. What someone shared through their writing, I started reading and I realized that, man, there's more to me, and that's possible. It's possible for me to achieve more based on what someone else shared. But also, as you said, now that you know, it's your responsibility to share that with someone else and put it in writing. Not only will impact that one person, but can impact millions of people, because you never know where your information or who will come across your information. So put your information in writing will help millions of people, if possibly. That's a possibility once you put your content out. But that leads me to your book, Collaboration, the Currency. How impactful that book is to a listener, and why did you write that book specifically?
Yes. So collaboration creates currency. The blueprint for visibility, credibility, and profitability is a book that allows for me to collaborate with four other individuals that I've personally had a chance to work with. Individuals that we've worked together in business, in friendship, where our lives were impacted in a major way because of our ability to collaborate. In this book, we talk about our experiences with collaboration and how collaboration has created currency for us. Now, currency can primarily be seen as financial, but currency in this case is more of social capital, the relationship. So for example, you and I, we connected as a result of social capital. And so this book helps the reader to gain a perspective on how important our relationships are to us increasing our visibility, our credibility, and then our profitability. Profitability primarily is monetary, but profitability is also in relationships. Once again, that the relationships, the rich connections that we make impact our lives in a major way. So each author, including myself, we share a story and a perspective that allows for the reader to be empowered, inspired, and impacted in such a way that they're motivated to find ways to collaborate with people. In this economic climate, or they're talking about an economic downturn, and one of the things that I want people to understand is that it's not about the macro economy. It's about your economy. And you can change your economy by first changing, once again, your thought process, right? The thoughts that you think, the words that you speak, the actions that you take, and then finding other people that you can give to. One particular person in the book that shares his story is Marshall Fox. Marshall Fox was a struggling insurance salesman. And at the time, his wife was encouraging him to pursue his goals and to pursue his gifts. His gift is graphic design. He's very talented, and so he started off by giving his services to me. He gave his service to me. He transformed a logo for me that was tremendous. He helped to create and enhance my image in terms of business. And then I gave back to him, and I took that logo and I shared it with my network to the impact of him being able to attract 40 new clients in 90 days. I love telling that story because that is an example of how collaboration creates currency. That once you identify your gift, your ability to give to the world what God has given to you, you then can give that to others, and then that impacts them. But then the flip side is that when you allow for people to give to you, then that opens up your life in a major way. There's some people who will refuse to receive, and then they block someone else's blessing because they refuse to receive. So collaboration creates currency is actually the first of a multi-part series that will be coming out over the next few years, but it allows for each and every one of us, Marshall Fox, Deborah Delgado, Sherrod Ledet, and Elliot Brooks III, to share how collaboration creates currency. And so when the reader picks that book up, they will generate their own ideas of how collaboration has created currency for them and put them in a position to attract the people who can help them go to the next level, as well as them helping others to go to the next level as well.
I really appreciate that. Collaboration creates currency. And because even recently, I saw where you shared a tip that I myself have really looked over. Because yes, we come across individuals that are interested in what we're doing, but sometimes we don't go further than their interest. We don't try to learn about the people that we connect with. And by learning about the people, those same individuals can become very valuable to what we're trying to accomplish. And so I really appreciate and see the value in that, just one example that you shared. But you said something a while ago where sharing our gifts with individuals, helping them with what we can help with, can open doors, because that person can then share what we have done for them with their network, as you have done for Mr. Fox, right? And open doors that leads to financial opportunities. So as individuals, don't be afraid to share your gift. You may not be paid for it right now, but it can lead to you getting opportunities that pay tremendously. So that's a valid point and reminder to us all, because starting out at times we may be very reluctant and sharing our gifts because we're not being paid for it in the beginning. but sharing it with individuals can really open doors. So I'm glad for that perspective and reminder to us all, because our goal is to inspire others. Our goal is to help others. And
And I
sometimes,
want to, I want to add, I want to add to that. So when you
okay,
talk about the doing things and not being compensated, we're always compensated. The challenge is how we look at it.
okay,
One of my coaches, and I mentioned him in the book. His name is CJ Quinney. He always talks about how to monetize free,
hmm,
right? How to monetize free. So when you understand, and like once again, you're changing your mindset here. Once you look at how can you take a free opportunity and monetize it, once you have that mindset, that opportunity, you're actually getting paid. You may not be receiving dollars and cents, but you are receiving something else of value. And so this whole narrative of, oh, I'm not going to do anything for free because I'm not getting paid, you end up missing out on a greater opportunity because you don't understand this concept of monetizing free. See, when you understand that concept, you'll be energetic about taking on opportunities, whether they're paid or unpaid, because you realize that every opportunity you're getting paid. So that's a major part of the narrative that I want to encourage people. Like even when they think about how collaboration creates currency, currency is energy. So if you can tap into someone else's energy, if you can then push your energy out, then what happens is you have the ability to monetize free in every engagement, every opportunity, every situation where you promote your gift then is allowed to make room for you so that you can get in front of the people who will actually pay you.
man, that's awesome. And that's a great reminder. Don't see free as free. See free as opportunity. And because, sometimes just to be in the right space, you may have to start off doing something for free, because that free may lead you to the person who can then pay you to do the work that you are passionate about. So I really appreciate that perspective and how we see free. And then when we're thinking about changing the narrative too, because we may grow up in an era where, no, I'm not going to give you what I am good at for free, because then we're only looking at it as oh, we're just doing for free. But you get an opportunity to go into an environment to meet new people. By meeting new people, it can open doors for you. So I really appreciate that perspective. So that leads to me asking this question: what or who has influenced or inspired you to pursue the path that you're on? I know you mentioned your frat brother, your mentor, and other individuals that you come across, but just who else have influenced you to want to do this kind of work, to really focus in on collaboration?
Yeah, there's so many that I can name, but I think the number one person would be Dr. Eric Thomas, otherwise known as E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. You see, the inspiration behind collaboration creates currency is Eric Thomas. And the reason why I say that is because number one, the common thread amongst everyone in the book is our relationship with Eric Thomas. But the mindset behind the book is that Eric Thomas was able to, in one generation, change the financial trajectory of his family because of collaboration. You see, Eric Thomas grew up in a household where he thought the man that was married to his mother was his father, but it wasn't his father. His mom revealed to him as a teenager that his real daddy was someone else. So he became defiant, and then he left home. He ran away from home. He was homeless. He lived in abandoned buildings. He ate out of trash cans. He dropped out of high school. So could you imagine being a high school dropout, then obtaining a GED, then going to college to get a bachelor's, which it took him 12 years to finish a 4-year degree, then on to a master's and now a PhD and now a New York Times bestseller. This gentleman leveraged collaboration. He never really did much on his own. He leveraged collaboration to change the financial trajectory of his family in one generation. And so in the book, I talk about an experience that I have with Eric Thomas. But I say that he he was a major example of someone who was able to make a significant change. He changed the narrative of Black men, Black fathers, Black leaders. I would go as far as to say he is this generation's Dr. Martin Luther King, in a sense of empowering us to rise up to the next level, and economically was able to do that. So it wasn't just words, it wasn't just actions, it was the manifestation of his actions and his ability to collaborate that created currency for him, as well as everyone else that was around him. So I would say he would be at the top of the list, among many other men who have influenced me. But I would have to say Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip hop preacher.
Well, I agree with you when it comes to Eric Thomas. I remember when I came across his work before he's big as he is today. But what I really admire about him is that part that you mentioned about collaboration. We didn't know really much about the other guys until later on the journey. And then you realize that he himself said, you know what, I was just the mouthpiece of what's going on here. There were
Yes.
other people behind the scene to make this happen. And that's what I really admire about him and what he have shown us, how to really become successful. It's not going to be your effort only. You find individuals who share your vision, share the impact that you want to make, and go out there and make that happen. And it's not always easy to find those individuals, but when you realize the importance of collaboration, the importance of working with others who share your vision, man, possibilities are endless. And just to hear his journey, how he started, and knowing it wasn't easy, it's a testament to what is possible, being around the right set of people who can support the vision you have. Man, anything is possible. So when it comes to Eric Thomas, man, if I ever feel like the journey gets tough, just listen to what he is saying, and you get right back on track. You get back right on
Yes.
purpose. So he has been, as you mentioned, maybe Martin Luther King of today's people, because he doesn't only tell you what to do, but he has been the example of what it is to move from one socioeconomic to another. And he's taken a lot of people with him, which is really admirable, just to take others with you as you go on the journey, because that's what it's about. Lift as you climb, and he have been doing that very well. So, no, but just to go back to what you said, we have to learn from others and see what others are doing, and be appreciative of the influence individuals have on us as we go on our journey. What perspective on the current climate of Black men in society? What is your perspective on the current climate of Black men today?
Yeah, well, I think that question is, for me, is going to be different than others, right? Because I surround myself with Black men who are making moves, right? So it's difficult for me. I mean, I know that we have work to do, right? We have work to do as Black men, right? We have work to do in terms of changing the narrative about how we are as fathers. A lot of people say that as Black fathers we're absent. I'm not an absent father. I have two beautiful daughters. I'm in their lives. The men that are in my lives, that are fathers, they're active in their children's lives. But we recognize that there are some Black men who are not, and so we definitely have to rise up there. In terms of entrepreneurship, making sure that we are collaborating in such a way that we're impacting our communities. Making sure that we're passing on wealth. Just a very simple notion of life insurance. Now, I don't sell life insurance. I'm not a broker or anything like that, but I understand that when I pass on, it's my responsibility to keep my family protected. And so that's a vehicle that allows for us to do that. GoFundMe is not the move, right? It's not the move. That just tells people that that you did not prepare for the inevitable, right? It's going to happen, right? So I would say just making sure that we tap in. But everyone that I'm surrounded by, like I'm looking at people like the brothers who are a part of Earn Your Leisure. You know, they're leading the pack. People like David Shands leading the pack. Nehemiah Davis leading the pack. There's so many young men that are Inky Johnson, Jeremy Anderson. There's so many people. Dewan Matunga. There's so many people. You know, there's so many people. And I think what we have to do is stay connected. Now, if you're not connected, then you need to get connected. A lot of people say, well, how do I get connected? Well, you connect with a connector, right? One of the things I had to get comfortable with is that the role that I play is no less than an Eric Thomas, right? So as you said, Eric Thomas is the mouthpiece. I'm the hand, right? I'm the hand that connects the individual to the next person, right? I'm the person who will open up a door for the next person to get in the room, right? So I'm comfortable with being in that space, and I'm okay if I'm not the mouthpiece, if that makes sense, right? Somebody has to promote the mouthpiece. Somebody has to promote the event, and I raise my hand gladly. So I would say that just to be able to get around people who are positive, when you do that, then the narrative begins to change, because now you're saying, wow, I did not know that this existed, right? I did not know. So many of you may not know that these opportunities exist, but you have to get connected to a connector who is connected. Right? I want to say that one more time, right? You have to get connected to a connector that is connected, right? Now, I'm not saying it's me. There's a ton of connectors out there, right? I would highly recommend people tap into Dr. George C. Frazier, right? He wrote a phenomenal book called Success Runs in Our Race. He is a phenomenal connector. He is connected. But there are likely other people that are in your circle, or even as you listen to Dr. Cross. Dr. Cross is a connector, right? Dr. Cross is a connector. If you're listening to this and you've been listening to this for some time and you say, man, I don't know how I can get into the room, maybe one of the first people you should reach out to is Dr. Cross, right? And make sure you let him know that you've been listening to this body of work, because now that helps to let him know that he is visible, right? And then it allows for him to know that you're credible. How? Because you're telling him, I've listened to your body of work and I'm executing on what your guests are telling me. And now, as a result of that connection, that conversation, you now get connected, and now you get to tap into profitability. And like I said, profitability is not just monetary, it's relationships. Once you get in a room and your perspective changes, then your life begins to change. So I would say get connected to a connector that is connected.
Man, I really love that. May be what they see when, as the video out there and the major platforms, get connected to a connector that who is connected. And I came across the book some time ago that talks about get connected with a connector. Maybe not in that terms. I'm just saying it now that way because you said it. But to get to certain place or to get certain opportunity, you have to know what your strengths are. And there are individuals who are out there who are better at connecting you to opportunities and to people. And that's where you come in. And and that's what I've seen the work, the LinkedIn locksmith, just to connect with other people, because I may be able to write every day, all day. But to connect with certain individuals, may not be my strength. And, so really appreciate, even you sharing that, when we're thinking about what we want to do, the impact we want to have, sometimes what may be stopping us, we may not be connected to the right person who can connect us to the opportunity that we want. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective. But go back to what you have said in regards to our current climate. Now, you said you are around individuals who are doing what they're supposed to do, who are being the father that they're supposed to be, who are showing up in the places that they're supposed to show up. yes, so your perspective will be different, but you also, remind us that we still have work to do. And being that individuals are out there doing the work or being the example, it's for us to learn from those individuals. And once we get into those spaces, as you mentioned, once our perspective change, our lives start to change. So we have to expose ourselves to individuals who are not just talking about it, who are being about it. And it will impact you or impact us by being around great examples of individuals, even though we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to us as Black men in society and the progress and opportunities that are available to us. And that leads me to this question. And I know you may have shared parts of answers to this question, but what change do you want to see in general amongst Black men?
Yeah, I want to see more collaboration. I would say that's the change. I want to see more people promoting the collaboration, right? Because there's a lot of things going behind closed doors. Like right now, you and I are conducting this conversation, but the people outside of this conversation may not know this conversation is going on until it's broadcast, right? So until it's promoted, what wealth is produced if we only keep this information to ourselves, right? So we have to get better at promoting the positive, and making sure that others know, and doing it in such a way that it's not braggadocious. I don't have a problem with bragging. Matter of fact, a wise man once told me it's not bragging, it's branding, right?
That's
So
right.
I don't have a problem with promoting, right? So I think we have to get good at, once we've learned something, once we've connected, let's share that in a way that others within our network see that it's happening, and it creates inspiration. Now, if a person is operating from a negative mindset, the first thing that may be produced is jealousy. Like, how is it that he's able to get with them, and why are they able to get together and I wasn't able to get there? Well, once you change the perspective and say, that's interesting, and you celebrate that collaboration, and when you celebrate that collaboration, then what happens is your mind begins to seek out opportunities to do the same thing. And lo and behold, you'll be in the right room where you'll learn how to take your gift and your skill to the next level. But I would say the way that we, produce that change is we have to continuously promote the collaborations and promote the impact that people are having in our lives so that others can hear about it and eventually tap into that energy as well.
Well, I believe that is true. Collaborating with others, and that will break down the barrier of distrust that we have been conditioned to think or believe amongst ourselves. Collaboration breaks that barrier of distrust, and once we can get past that, man, there's so much that we will be able to accomplish just by collaborating with others. We share our skill sets across what we are trying to accomplish, because there's no way, as I've said earlier, that as an individual, we're going to have all the skill sets that we need to achieve the goal that we want to achieve. So getting someone else to share their skill set, just as Mr. Fox shared his skill by designing, graphic design, open doors for him, but also makes you look good. And maybe that's how we're going to get to the next level. Share our skill sets, across whichever platform we're on, and what we're trying to accomplish, and that can help us to achieve more. That can help us to be in spaces that we may not normally are in, and we have to just get comfortable with individuals with their skill set, because if we don't share what we know or open doors for others, we may be stopping our blessing, as you said, because getting someone to get ahead can then become that person who will open the doors for us, because we never know who is going to open the door. It could be the person who is behind us, who is not yet exposed, but by giving that person the opportunity to achieve their goal, they in turn can open the door for us. And we have to realize, as you mentioned, we can't look at it as be jealous of one person or why that person is getting ahead or why that person becomes successful before us, because that individual can be the person who opens the door. And I've seen this so many times on my journey, where someone who started afterwards but was given an opportunity then become the person who opened doors for so many others. Because, man, we never know who that individual can become by giving them the opportunity. So it's always great to be okay with someone achieving success even before you, because that person, as I said, man, can then become the person who helps you to achieve your goal. So that's great. And I want to ask this question because I know with the things that you're doing and the connections that you have made and the impact that you're having, what was a pivotal moment in your life?
Oh man, like I said, I have so many situations and experiences, but the one that stands out was when actually I'm going to give you two if that's okay. So one is when I was laid off from a nonprofit position in 2012. August 2012, I was laid off from a nonprofit position, and what at the time was a traumatic experience because I had never been laid off before, and now I'm dealing with the fact that I'm married, I have two beautiful daughters, and I don't have a job, right? But I prayed a prayer that is continuing to impact lives to this day, and the prayer that I prayed was, God, deposit within me something that would allow me to live for you while living out the gifts and talents that you've given me to be a blessing to others. Right. So that prayer I prayed, and I was then deposited into my spirit the name YB Connects. Right. YB Connects. So YB is who I am. Connects is what I do. So every day that I operate in my gifts, people are seeing YB Connects. So that would be the first situation that like transform my life and the lives of others. The second was when I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. I was on the verge of suicide in 2015, at the end of 2015. And thank God I didn't move forward with the desire that was in my heart at that time. Thank God I had two men that came to see me, two friends that came to see me to talk me out of my situation and help me take my mind off of the thoughts that I had at that time, long enough for me to make a wise decision to seek counsel. And in the process of me seeking counsel, in the process of me getting help, I go onto YouTube and I look for motivation. And that's where I discover Dr. Eric Thomas. I had not known who that man, I didn't know who that man was prior to that situation. But it was that trial, it was that piece of trauma that motivated me to look for inspiration. And in doing that, it allowed for me to meet a man virtually who then became my mentor, because then I traveled to see him, and I talk about that portion of that experience in the book as well. So I would say those two were pivotal moments in my life that allowed for me to grow. And keep in mind, they all stemmed from a setback. A gentleman by the name of Dr. Willie Jolly says that in every setback, there's a setup for a comeback. So we have to understand that even though we might face adversity, another wise man said that in every adversity, there is a seed of an equal or greater benefit, but only for the mind that is positive. And so to kind of wrap this thing up with a bow, from the first question that you asked to this question, is having that positive mentality will allow you to look at adversity in such a way that it's not negative. The adversity is actually it actually produces a seed. So if you have the right mindset, whenever you face adversity, you don't look at it as adversity. You start looking for the seed, because you know that the seed is going to open up the door for equal or greater benefit that will not only change your life, but it will change the lives of others. And so I am grateful for the adversity because I look at adversity differently because of the seeds that I found, that I've sown, and then I've reaped the harvest from And now I get to share that message with others as well.
Man, thanks for sharing those challenging moments, which became your pivotal moment on your journey. But I can tell you, the adversity is with the right mindset. You're right. With the right mindset, you will find opportunity or opportunities within your own challenges. And I can tell you that has been a part of my journey, especially my earlier part of my journey. I used to be upset with my own challenges growing up, why I have to go through these situations, why I don't have certain things, but not knowing that the challenge or the adversities, were preparing me for the person that I become today. Because all I was looking at then was the challenge that I was going through, the hardship, the setbacks, the disappointments. That's all I was looking at, not knowing that it was helping me to become stronger for the journey that I'm going to be on. So you're right, with the right mindset. And I didn't learn that until late because I came across Napoleon Hill's book when I was an adult. Because when you grow up in a certain environment, you're not looking for positive things. You're not looking for the opportunities to develop yourself, develop your mind. And when I came across that information, I realized, man, you know what? All the challenges, there are opportunities there. It's just for me to see. And as you mentioned, with the right mindset, you will see the opportunities there, just as how the adversities are there. You just have to look and show up with a positive mindset and stuff like that. So that's important to know when we're on this journey, just to have that positive mindset. But all of us are appreciative of you pulling through those challenges. But it goes back to with your prayer and you praying to realize within you what you can do, not just for yourself, because that was like the key in what you're sharing with when you pray. You didn't want something to deliver you for you. You want to realize something that you can use to help others. That's the power in that prayer, as you shared. And it all stems to or leads to you connecting with others, what you're doing today, just connecting with others or connect others to others. So that's really powerful. And that is a testament to the person you are. It's not about you wanting something for you. And we have to show up in life like that. Nothing we do is really about us. And we shouldn't really make it about us, but how we can help others. So I really appreciative, and then those two individuals, two friends that you talk to, that talk you out of your situation. Again, that's connections that you have made prior to. So it's important. We never know when we're going to need others or the support of others. So it's always great to connect with people before we need them, because we never know on this journey. It can get tough, and it doesn't matter how strong you are as an individual, having the right people around us is important. And that leads to this next question. What life lesson have you learned late in life that you believe is important and that can benefit this current generation?
Yeah, that the most important thing you can do is trust the process, right? Just trust the process. So everything that we're saying to you, everything that's coming out from this conversation may be new,
Yeah.
but just trust the process. So I think, and I've had to learn that. I've gone through so many emotional trials. I would have high highs and low lows. But when I received counsel and coaching from my mentors and coaches, the most important thing that they shared with me was to trust the process. And I can only really trust the process because they themselves have been through the process. So this lesson of trusting the process is really about understanding that there are people who have been on the journey that you're on, that you're going through. They may not have the same story, but they have a similar story. But understand that there are principles that do not change, right? So once you understand the principle, then you'll get the results of the principle once you trust the process, right? So trust the process will allow you to understand that this is a journey, right? It's not a destination, it's a journey. And so as you go through your journey, there's three people that you will encounter. You'll encounter people that you'll impact, you'll encounter people who impact you, and then you'll come closer to yourself. And so trust the process, don't rush the process. And just remember that in every adversity, there's a seed of an equal or greater benefit, but only for the mind that is positive.
Man, and thanks for reminding us all that trusting the process is important. When we are working towards a goal, when we want to make an impact, and that things sometimes take longer than we would want it to take. But once we start, we should see the process through, see the journey through, if we're going to achieve what we want. And again, if we are faced with adversities, just know that there are equal or greater benefits there. So when we approach life like that, even in tough times, we will be looking out for the opportunities when we're going through challenges. And as you mentioned, Dr. Willie Jolly, I remember I went to one of his workshops and he was sharing a story of I think this young man, I don't remember the exact story, but I remember he was saying this guy was there pushing the stone. And he was praying to God and said, man, move the stone. And God said, no, all I tell you to do is push it. And he got frustrated and said, man, look, I've been pushing the stone. That's what you told me to do, push the stone. And then, in the end, God came and removed the stone. And he was like, man, you could have done that all this time. But God said, look at your legs. It becomes stronger. Look at your arms. Your arms become stronger. So all I wanted you to do was to push the stone to become strong for where you're supposed to go. And that story stays with me, although I don't share it exactly how he shared it. Yeah. But I remember sometimes we're going through challenges. The challenges are there to prepare us, to get us to become stronger, to get out of us what's in us. And that's all we're supposed to get from the challenge, just to realize our potential and to become stronger. So that's something that I always remember. That was back in, I think, 2015, actually, when I went to one of his workshops. So, but it's to have the mindset of being positive. It's to have the mindset of trusting the process as we go on this journey. But before I ask my final question, I want you to share with the listeners, where can they find you? How can they support the work that you're doing, just to help you to achieve your goals and to make the impact that you want to make?
Yeah, I would say the two places where I can be found the most would be on LinkedIn. So if you go on LinkedIn and you look up Rob YB Youngblood, you'll find me there. Feel free to send a personalized note and let me know that you heard me on Dr. Cross's show. And I'll be happy to connect and identify ways for us to collaborate. So I would say LinkedIn, number one. Instagram, number two, YB the Connector. You can find me on there. So definitely connect with me there. And then lastly, I would encourage folks to visit collaborationcreatescurrency.com, collaborationcreatescurrency.com, and feel free to order your autographed copy of Collaboration Creates Currency, the blueprint for visibility, credibility, and profitability. There you'll become part of the Collaboration Creates Currency community. And you just never know. We may end up finding a way for us to collaborate. So I would say those would be the three ways for those who are listening to remain connected with me.
Okay, great. And I will put it somewhere in the description for them to be able to connect with you, because every single one of us need a connector who is connected.
That's right.
As we go on this journey to achieve our goal. So again, I'll put it in the somewhere in the description so individuals can connect with you. My final question is, what impact do you want to have on the world?
That's a great question. Outside of from a spiritual perspective, seeing more people impacted by Christ, I want to see more fathers stand up to leave legacies for their children. And once again, I mentioned the life insurance piece, but I also mentioned them becoming authors. And so by becoming an author, even if you don't sell 1 million copies, that's not the goal. Is to have something that your children can pick up and say, my father put this together. And that inspiration could then take your children to impact 10,000, right? And then their children may then impact another 10,000, right? So I would just say, find a way to take the knowledge and wisdom that you've gained and put it in a book. Now, even if you don't do a solo project, connect with other people and put together a collaborative project, just like we did with Collaboration Creates Currency. That is one of the easiest ways to become an author. You don't have to put together a whole manuscript and be intimidated by folks like John Maxwell and all of these folks and John Maxwell is great, but he puts out hits in terms of books like Michael Jackson and Prince, right? So don't get intimidated. You might look at Dr. Cross and say, Dr. Cross, you got 1 million books out there. You might get intimidated. Don't get intimidated. If anything, be bold enough to approach Dr. Cross and say, Dr. Cross, are you by any chance putting together a collaborative project? Are you doing something where I can take my knowledge and attach it to your knowledge so that we can impact lives together? Find a way to get the thoughts, the experiences that you've gone through and put it in a book. And when you put it in a book and you can look at that book and you can put it in somebody's hands, that begins the transformation process. And when you transition to the next level of your journey beyond this world, somebody can then pick up what you wrote and be impacted and be inspired. So I would say, do you want to transform lives? Put your wisdom and knowledge in a book, then share that knowledge with others. And then when you transform to another part of your journey, transition to another part of your journey, you get to live on forever.
Man, thanks for sharing that and that reminder from having the life insurance and also to write your book and share your knowledge. Because even if it doesn't sell 1 million copy, it may inspire one person that later, use that same information to inspire 1 million people. But it's always great to want to make a positive impact through the work that you're doing. And so I really appreciate the impact that you're making and bringing others together to make that impact. Again, we always need others on this journey to even reach our goals. Again, because we could be so talented, but because we are not connected to the right person, we may not be able to, reach the goal that we want. Because again, to reach to or connect to the next person, that may not be your strength. You may not be an extrovert. We're going to go into every social circle and talk to everyone that you meet. So you may need someone to make that connection for you. So, man, I want to say thank you for being here on the Black Male Impact. You have shared a lot of nuggets and insights and perspectives that we can all use as we continue on this journey. And your work exemplify what you shared, and the tips that you share with us every day really support what you just said from us collaborating with others. We have to get comfortable collaborating with each other because we all have something that someone else can benefit from. And if we're going to reach our goals, if we're going to make the impact that we want, we're always going to need to connect with others who are on this journey with us. So, Mr. Rob YB Youngblood, man, thanks for being here on the Black Male Impact.
Thank you, and I wish you all of the best, and keep up the great work that you're doing.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.